Fuso starting grid will show us precisely the lineup order now for this 102-lap encounter, 300 kilometres. And you can see it's a Volvo and a Red Bull Holden on the front row of the grid. McLaughlin, Prema, Whincup, Dumbrell. That's going to be a great race down to the blind turn number 1-2 complex. And then another Red Bull in there. Lowndes and Richards, position 3. Stephen Richards, the new Carrera Cup champion from yesterday's winners, Van Gisbergen and Jonathan Webb. Position 5, the Davison brothers. Erebus Motorsport, Mercedes-Benz AMG, then Davey Reynolds, Dean Canto. Big rebuild overnight to get those guys back in business from position 6. Position 2 at Bathurst for James Moffat and Taz Douglas. James has been doing some commentary for us today. Nice job from 7th. Tim Slade, Tony D'Alberto. Tim was absolutely baked in that car yesterday. He looked a bit sad at the end of it all. Position number 9, Chaz Mostert, Paul Morris. A big run yesterday to unlap themselves. Then James Courtney and Greg Murphy, keep an eye on them. They've got very good rubber. Tander and Luff, position 11, car number 2. Caruso and Fiore, new livery on the car again this weekend, celebrating their relationship with Beyond Blue and a big donation. Position 13, Winterbottom and Owen, Pepsi Max Ford Performance Racing. Then Todd Kelly with Englishman, Alex Buncombe, they're out of position number 14. Lee Holdsworth and Craig Baird with a new chassis this weekend, car number 4, position 15. Englishman, Ollie Gavin drives with Nick Percat. They were 3rd at Mount Panorama a few weeks ago. Fabian Coulthard, Luke Ilden, that'll be a frustration for them. He was a championship contender earlier in the year. And Robert Dahlgren and Greg Ritter, they'll be alongside in the Volvo. Then Jack Perkins and Cam Waters. Geldman with support from Surf Life Saving Queensland. And then Rick Kelly, David Russell hoping for a better run after yesterday's disaster at the start. They turned that car around pretty quickly though. Scotty Pye, Ash Walsh out of 21, then David Wall and Stephen Johnson out of position number 22. It's a 25-car field, this one. Russell Ingall, Tim Blanchard with another borrowed chassis this weekend after the disaster at Mount Panorama. Jason Bright and Andrew Jones had an engine change earlier in the weekend and some problems yesterday when they made contact with this car here on screen. Dale Wood, Chris Pither out of position number 25. So best race result of the season yesterday for Robert Dahlgren in the Volvo. An equal best for Tim Slade when he got back on the podium. Here he is. We've got 9 different cars carrying onboard cameras for us today. And Slade lost his helmet fan, he lost his cool suit, and he almost lost his cool at the end of it all as well. And an equal season best for Michael Caruso as well. Larko?
And Neil, as they come down here onto the grid, you know yourself, mate, we've had so many dramas over the year. The start line at this Gold Coast 600. Part of the reason is that these are co-drivers, not starting all the time. Remember, they'll have their cars up to a throttle percentage on the dash. That'll be banging on the limiter. But 2 really important factors, the heat of the tarmac, and they're using soft tyres. Remember, you will have to give it plenty of welly to get it off the line and get a little bit of wheel spin happening. Let's watch what plays out.
Yeah, step aside, Larko, because this one is going to be a big one. You're in a prime spot down there. That's the view from the pole-sitting Volvo. The S60. They start out with an engine mount that's east-west, and they completely reconfigure and rebuild, restructure that car, and it's a very fast V8 supercar. 8th pole position of the year for McLaughlin. And he and Prema are a hot combo.
Green flag, green flag.
It's 495 metres to turn 1, and you can't see it. It's a very good jump by the Red Bull Holden. And Dumbrell grabs second gear and ranges up alongside Alex Prema. Stephen Richards is right there and ready to pounce. Prema prevails. Oh, a little problem there for D'Alberto in the Super Cheap Auto entry, got crossed up in the chicane. It's Prema leading Dumbrell, leading John Webb, who's stuck up 1 position, I think, on Stephen Richards, and then Dean Canto's up the inside here in the Botolo car, and they're already rubbing mirrors on the run to the chicane for the first time. That's going to be awkward to resolve. Who blinks? It's Richo.
Good job. That was a very smart move just to pull back in behind. Good move also from Webb to get down the inside of turn 4. So pretty lively start. Very equal start for the top 3 cars. Prema walked it away nicely. Dumbrell looked like he got the best run. Stevie Richards got a really good run to the inside. And as I said, now back 2 spots after the move with Webb at turn 4. So Prema, Dumbrell, Webb, Canto, Richards, Davison, Douglas, D'Alberto, Morris, Murphy.
A nice job by Alex Prema. Initially, I thought he was going to be swamped by Paul Dumbrell, but the secondary component of the start worked well for him. Check this shot out. just raw power, raw speed, raw excitement of the V8 Supercars through 1 and 2. And a bit of contact here. Craig Baird getting a little touch-up from Stephen Johnson as they try and work their way through turn 4. Stephen's on the inside in 17. Right behind is Ollie Gavin. It's so close between the Falcon and the Benz on the run to the fast chicane, and Johnson grabs it.
A lot of damage on the front of Craig Baird's Mercedes-Benz E63. The grille hanging out of that car. There's Murphy just having a little dive, a little look at turn 11. So it's pretty hectic at the start of this one with Canto. We saw Canto and Richards vying for position at 245 kilometres an hour. Just the same as we saw Steve Johnson do the same manoeuvre.
And Steve Johnson was having another crack then just as we went back to our leaders. So he's trying to aggressively make ground at the moment. So let's just cleanse this for a moment and think about it. So Prema's got about 3 to 4 car lengths over Paul Dumbrell on the clock. It is officially 0.36 of a second. Then Webb, then Canto, then Stephen Richards, and then Alex Davison, and then a tiny little gap back to Taz Douglas in the James Moffat Nissan Altima.
And further to your point about Steve Johnson being aggressive, he's the real winner. In the early laps there, he's gained 5 positions from position number 22 to 17.
We're riding with the Dunlop Series champion of 2014, Paul Dumbrell. Said yesterday in our broadcast he's been getting a lot of valuable mileage this year. He was the winner at Sandown with Jamie Whincup. We all know the story at Bathurst. He's been quick here again this weekend, and then along the way he's kept his mileage fresh by doing a tremendous job in the Development Series events. And he is all over the back of Alex Prema at the moment, pushing very, very hard, trying to find a way. Wants to try and bluff him into a little pressure mistake.
But what you have to be careful of is when you put this amount of pressure on, if he does make a mistake, often you're part of the accident. Around here, you've got nowhere to go. So if Prema makes a mistake, gives the fence a rub or fries into a tyre bundle, Dumbrell, given that Whincup is leading the series, needs to make sure you just minimise the risk.
Stephen Johnson, Mark, has got really good pace at the moment. He's doing very good sector splits, even though he's down in 16th. If he could clear some of the traffic, he'd be a factor at the moment in the Wilson security entry. Greg Murphy having a battle here with Paul Morris. So they've swapped positions between 9 and 10. Gillette replay of the start, much cleaner than yesterday, thankfully. And initially we thought that Paul Dumbrell may have been able to walk by the Volvo, but watch here as they grab second gear, things suddenly equalise. And I thought Stephen Richards, in fact, I reckon if Richo had clear track, he would actually have got through there. But he had a 1.5 tonne Volvo in the way, and it's not that easy to put it on sky hooks and make it vanish.
Have a look at this. This on board, very narrow.
On board with the Will Davis and Alex Davison entry. Just listen to this and watch the excitement into one. Remember, they've got cold tyres, cold brakes, and it's a question down there of just how crazy do you want to be, because there's a car often on either side of you and usually a couple of them right behind you, together with what's going on in front. You need that rotating eyes.
Well, this is great. This is great vision. This is 245k. I made the point before because there was a little bumping duel there with Canto and Stevie Richards, and the dive, we were on board with Alex Davison when Jono Webb arrowed down the inside into turn 4, so he got a nice move made at that stage also. So very hectic first couple of corners.
The reason we're looking at Tony D'Alberto is he's just moved up 1 position on Taz Douglas. This was the car delivered a great result yesterday to both Tim Slade and to Tony D'Alberto, and it was D'Alberto's, as Greg Murphy goes up the inside of Taz as well. It was D'Alberto's first ever podium in V8 Supercar competition, who's continuing to work on ways to get back in the full-time game. Remember, they ran car number 10 on that car, but it had to be completely rebuilt after Bathurst, gone back to the regular number 47 for Super Cheap Auto. He's making good ground quickly now, D'Alberto, on the back of Alex Davis and on the back of the Mercedes-Benz. And just hearing a little bit of conversation in the background at the moment between Craig Baird and his engineers as well about the damage on the front of that car that you observed a little earlier, Mark. 0.4 is the gap between Dumbrell and Prema.
Your point there, D'Alberto's just done the fastest lap of the race. So Compo 12.87.
And look at this. Down the order here and skating in on the rear brake in car number 36 is Dean Fiore, and that's also happening down the order here with Cam Waters in car number 18. And I think Craig Baird's a bit out of phase at the moment. Whenever you hear a driver frequently on the radio, it's because he's got something going on and it's distracting. So that'll be the reason why he's taking a bit of a whack at the moment, and he could well have a steering alignment or other issues, maybe a temperature issue with that car. See the snout on the Erebus entry there, it's carrying substantial damage.
Stevie Johnson's done a great job. He's up 7 spots now. He was previously the fastest guy. He did a 13.19 on lap 3. So as Neil said, if he had clear air, he will continue to forge forward. So this is on board now.
Yeah, this is for the move for the lead. So I called the margin before about Paul Dumbrell leading. So that's up at turn 11. So when we were looking further down the order, this was Dumbrell getting by Prema. Now we go out the left-hand side of the chopper on the Gillette replay to show you exactly what happened. You can see Jonathan Webb is tucked right in behind there as well. So well done, Paul Dumbrell. He's been threatening that for the last couple of laps. Now he's got clean air, and that's a big advantage around here as well. Paul Dumbrell is the leader. Red Bull Racing Australia, Holden Commodore. Then Alex Prema in the Volvo, followed by Jonathan Webb, Dean Cando and Stephen Richards, your top 5. We're back in a moment. I'm not Nostradamus, but I can pretty much predict there's going to be trouble out there at the moment because there's some wild stuff going on in the mid-pack, and this is Paul Morris. Pepsi Max Ford Performance Racing. He was involved in some push and shove, and there's a lot of damage on the front of that car. He got into the back of car number 2, driven by Warren Luff, down at turn 4, and also previous to that, back at turn 2. So they'll have a look at that. But some of the mid-pack stuff just in the last couple of minutes has been absolutely unbelievable. Mark Larkham, you can see just orbiting the car down there to see what it looked like. People were shooting in every direction, so have a look at that. That was back at the 1-2-3 chicane. So it started with Paul actually straddling the curbing, and then Luff gets a whack from behind. That was Steve Owen touching up the back of the HRT car. Look at the front of the Holden. The front of Paul Morris's car's had a whack as well. It may also have had some steering damage or a flat spotted tyre. But there was all this side-by-side action. The Gillette replay shows this little heart-skipping moment. You needed eyes in the back of your head to be able to work out who was going to jump out of which shadow.
I thought that Oliver Gavin and Alex Buncombe were going to make contact, and that's a very fast section there. 245 kilometres an hour, and they're bumping, and they got into the first bit alongside each other. In fact, Buncombe had to take a little shortcut to avoid the contact at the next part of the chicane. It's a complex little section of road. We're right now in that section that I'm talking about. It's very fast, about 145 kilometres an hour, the mid-corner speed for there. And Dumbrell at the moment with a 1 second lead over Prema.
And if you're wondering why Paul Morris came in right out of sequence there, because that's not when you do a stop, that's why, look at that. He's had a flat spot there, and there's the steel belt of the tyre, so that's gone.
David, well, I was going to come over here and say everything was going so smoothly for you and Steve Johnson, and he was moving up 7 or 8 spots, but then it all got a bit hairy out there for him.
Yeah, it did a little bit, but as per usual, he's doing a very, very good job, and we've moved forward a lot. Had a couple of things go our way, so hopefully that continues for the rest of the race.
Well, you had really good speed yesterday. Unfortunately, it didn't go so well in that last part of the race, but the car has certainly got pace this weekend. Yeah,
I mean, a couple of changes from qualifying, which hopefully work out right for us. But, yesterday was showing pretty consistent pace, and, unfortunately that safety car didn't work out the way that we thought it was going to, and then I made a mistake through the back chicane and hurt the splitter, obviously, so it ended our day prematurely. But hopefully today we can leave with a smile on our face.
Good luck, David.
Thank you. Cheers.
David Wall, thanks Rihanna, and currently car number 17 is 14th out there with Stephen Johnson driving. And it's actually been confirmed today that Wilson Security, the sponsor of those cars, will be racing with Volvo next year at Gary Rogers Motorsport, so we'll see a livery change with those cars next year, no doubt. Tony D'Alberto is taking us for a chauffeur ride at the moment. He's doing a good job. He's in 6th position. He's hounding the back of Stephen Richards. And the gap first to second has opened up a little bit in the last couple of laps. So Paul Dumbrell, once he did get that clear air that we spoke of, 1.48 seconds Dumbrell to Prema. And how's Larko's form, trying to burn his fingerprints off down there before? That was funny. We're going to enjoy a full lap here with Tony. So crank it up, sit back, go for a ride. So that's 3 kilometres of the Surfers Paradise Street Circuit, and immediately those images tell us that Stephen Richards' car's probably got a bit too much oversteer in it. At turn 13, he looked vulnerable. He looks vulnerable down here at turn 4, and he's going to drop a spot. So the rear of the Red Bull car 888 is actually sliding around a little bit too much for Richo at the moment, and that will make him vulnerable because you've got to wait for the car to settle before you can touch the throttle, and it really is a hard thing on a track like this.
That's right, and some of it actually comes from it not turning at the corner well enough. So if you watch, we're on board now with Greg Murphy, but if you're watching this complex, we saw Steve run wide at turn 13, and it makes it look like it's oversteer at the end of the corner, but it's actually because he hasn't been able to get it turned. Just check this out. So this is 12. This is where Reynolds crashed yesterday. And that's 13. You can just see he doesn't quite get the car to the corner. He missed the apex on the previous lap. And this is the spot that D'Alberto ended up getting right up near him last time because he can't keep the momentum up. He can't keep the mid-corner speed up.
And sometimes you have to muscle the throttle is what you're saying there, isn't it, Mark? As we look at the Gillette replay down at turn 4 of D'Alberto getting by Richards, you've got to pick the throttle up to try and rotate the car. So Tim Slade, don't know what it is, but somehow we both leave work together every night. So he went out on his bike on Friday night and then again last night. So we debriefed all the way back. And he was really tortured after yesterday's run, and it was a terrific performance. To whether he was going to be 3rd or 4th, it was a remarkable performance considering that he was in a car that was 25 to 30 degrees above ambient with absolutely no cooling at all. It was a remarkable performance.
Scapey, I was just going to add to your comment. I mean, you've raced here so many times, mate. You know it's a compounding effect, isn't it? When you can't get your power down off a corner. Now, this being a circuit, it's what we call a stop-start circuit. There's a lot of slow second gears corners as opposed to, say, Phillip Island where we're about to go. So it's not just the effect of coming off the corner, mate, is it? It carries all the way down the straight. So when you look at the data, a little bit of wheel spin at the start of a corner will carry for nearly a kilometre.
Yeah, exactly, Larko. And this section we're in right now is where it's really crucial because the drive traction, you're in there at the corner for a while, you got it on the slide, you've got to make it a nice straight exit. And as you said, it really hurts the final terminal speed down here, 265 kilometres an hour. Whincup and Dumbrell, they lead from Prema.
It's the place to be in Australia at the moment, the Gold Coast. V8 supercar action at Surfers Paradise, and what an amazing view there looking along the beachfront. Generally up towards the northern area there, towards Southport, Coolangatta to the south. It is a gorgeous day. I think we've spent 3 days up here, maybe 4 days up here now, and I still haven't spotted a cloud mark, Skate. So we're on lap 17 of 102. It's very early days in this race as we start to focus back on the racetrack, and Paul Dumbrell's got a margin of 2.8 seconds at the moment over Alex Prema. Now this is Luke Youlden in the Lockwood Racing Holden Commodore. Remember, they started down the order in car number 14. Wasn't a particularly flash qualifying for them. And as we've seen many times this weekend, too much curb at turn 2 flies you into the exit wall at turn 3. And one passenger side Holden mirror parts company. Now they're not compelled to use those mirrors here this weekend. Normally both mirrors have got to be on the car. We've got a problem here for car 4. So Craig Baird's gone straight ahead and into the tyre barrier at turn 11. So it's been a big weekend of double duty also for Craig Baird. Trying to restart and grab reverse there at the moment. He was in a battle with Robert Dahlgren, and Dahlgren tried to put a move on here. He did, in fact, they glanced, and that's the reason why Baird ended up in there. So the little bump there just glanced the bends off to the right-hand side. So Dahlgren down the inside. And actually, he didn't pull up the Volvo enough. He couldn't get it down to the apex, so he slid by. It's actually done some damage to the front right corner of the E63, so reasonably heavy contact there for Craig Baird. And lucky he didn't cop a whack from behind. His teammate yesterday, Greg Ritter, got terrible blisters on his foot as well. They came home 13th in yesterday's race, Robert Dahlgren and Greg Ritter. 16th in Giro campaign for Greg Ritter, Scafie, and 11 of those have been with Gary Rogers Motorsport. It's a remarkable performance. So Baird has been able to extract that car, but they'll probably need to bring it in with that level of damage on the front right-hand corner. And there's a lot of radio traffic. I'm suspecting that the Petters safety car is likely to be deployed while they sort all this out.
It's hard to know now because we thought for sure there's the blisters.
That's the blisters that I just spoke of there. Poor old Greg Ritter, he's all taped up. We describe him as Australia's fastest plasterer. He's got an amazing CV. Been trying to work back towards getting more of a full-time ride either in this caper or in one of the support categories. He did a very good job yesterday. So people are taking the opportunity here. There's double stacking for car 222. So Ollie Gavin there having to wait for the D'Alberto entry. So best part of somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds was burnt then. I still haven't actually seen the safety car. I think people have reacted thinking it was going to. We don't have any confirmation of it on the official timing.
Yeah, it's been cancelled. So these guys have done this, which was just on the window, the first window that Mark Larkham explained earlier. But they've taken a punt and then they've had to double stack.
That's not good. Under green racing conditions. Yeah. Remember, Mark made that point in the Penrite proper racing line a little earlier. So car number 15 in, out, done. David Russell and Rick Kelly. That was a great lap and description. The GoPro lap that Rick Kelly did for us earlier in the broadcast. Lots of information. And here's the damaged right-hand front corner on that Benz. Remember, this is a car that was fresh for this weekend, a resurrected chassis, the original car of the future build from what was then Stone Brothers. And that's a telltale visual, isn't it?
Yeah, that's broken. Probably a top wishbone mount or a wishbone. You could just see the amount of movement on that front wheel, and the front upright is damaged. So that will be a big level of work to get that one back out there. So I'm just trying to work out what's going on here, because also I reckon Paul Morris must be close now in car 6 to being lapped, to losing a lap. We saw the drama unfold for him yesterday with Chaz Mostert. He was down a lap yesterday.
They've also, Adam DeBory, the engineer for car 6, has also warned Paul about curb strikes. So he's been given a warning now, so he doesn't have any more lives up his sleeve. So they don't want him to be too hungry with those curbs. Car number 7 on screen there at the moment. Also just touching up that little Dunlop tyre barrier down there. Alex Buncombe, the Englishman, is in 21st position at the moment. When he turned up and had his first outing here, remember he's part of Nissan's International Motorsport program, and he's got a problem up at turn 11. He just pulls it up and stops it. He walked it around there at road car pace in the end. The Gillette replay shows that he didn't put a scratch on it, but only just. He turned up here on Wednesday, Thursday this week and went, wow. Yeah. It was a bit of an eye-opener for him.
Well, especially after Bathurst. You go to a place like Bathurst and you come to such a different style of circuit with that level of character and how dynamic it is in terms of the bumps and the things that make this so special in terms of the road surface, etc. Lucko?
Yeah, Lee Hosworth obviously disappointed with that. Looked like pretty blatant contact, mate, and you had a tough day yesterday as well.
Yeah, it looked like Beto gave him a bit of room there, and they made contact, and he put Beto in the fence. But mate, we've been running over too many black cats at the moment. I don't know what's going on, but it's got to get better.
It's a tough gig, mate. You keep your chin up. I just want to say, boys, it was interesting watching those pit stops there before. That's going to cost a lot of guys coming in green, sending their co-drivers back out now. That was costly.
Yeah, it was. Car 6, bad sportsmanship flag for that overuse of curbs. I mentioned before that there'd been some radio traffic on that. There was some warnings for Paul Morris, and there is the corresponding flag at the start-finish line. But you're right, Larko, and you pointed that out in your little summary brief before we went racing, that if you end up having to come in under green conditions like that, some of that just would have been an opportunistic call based on the possibility that there was going to be a Peters safety car, but they stood it down when they realised that Craig Baird was able to grab reverse and get out of the wall at turn 11.
So just confirm that for you. Morris is definitely a lap down now, so we just caught him in that group. So Dumbrell currently leading from Prema, Webb, Canto, Richards, Davison, Douglas, Fiore, Lufter. There's something wrong also with Greg Murphy, the Greg Murphy car, because he's just being told to keep pressing on. We're getting reports back about Greg complaining.
Other thing to keep in mind is that car 6, Chaz Mostert, Paul Morris, did go a lap down yesterday as well, just in the various sequences of this race, but they got their lap back. Michael Caruso watching on screen there at the moment. His teammate, Dean Fiore from Western Australia, they're currently in 8th behind their own teammate, 360 Taz Douglas.
Yeah.
Here is the battle on screen there at the moment. Caruso, they're supporting Beyond Blue this weekend. Nissan, in fact, donated $260,000 to the cause, $300,000 last year. So mateship and camaraderie is very important. That's the reason for the names on the side of the car. There's the Coates Hire leaderboard. It's all about Paul Dumbrell at the moment. He's got a handy little lead. It's 2.6 seconds. Let's go and have a lie on the beach, and we'll come back in a couple of minutes.
In front of Taz, Paul Morris. He's not for Paul Morris. He's not for the lap down. Get out of the Morris in front of the left down.
Sevens Mega Wall's got all of this covered. Right in the centre at the top there is Michael Caruso, eagerly watching the progress of his car with Dean Fiore, the West Australian, chasing down his teammate Taz Douglas at the moment. There's the Nissan duo. We've got curb cameras on the top of buildings. We've got them inside cams race control. And as we described earlier in the broadcast, we've got 9 cars carrying onboard cameras. There's dozens of them, so we've got every angle covered out there at the moment. This is a nice, intense little battle. And I also picked up that one in the break, that there was a radio message went out to Alex Buncombe about overuse of curbs as well.
And in the break, we got to the bottom of Greg Murphy and what he was complaining about. He was complaining about strategy. So he's basically gone back to the team saying, you put me out of this by stopping so early under green. And what it does now for D'Alberto and Murphy, who are right up there, they've got to get to lap 62. So a massively long stint now for those co-drivers.
What Greg needs to do at the moment is, unfortunately, put the blinkers on and ignore the world around him, because it's, when you look at the strategies that Mark Larkham discusses pre-race, basically by coming in early, they're now working back from the end of the race. So he might be a lap or two either side of it being ideal, but he's by no means out of it. But for a driver, what it does is it knocks your confidence around.
That's right.
So he's buried in the field. Drivers are emotional creatures. I know one or two of them. And they tend to erupt when they all of a sudden find themselves down what they perceive to be the wrong end of the field.
Neil, I've just managed to have a quick chat with Rick Kelly and Scotty Sinclair, the technical director here at Nissan, because I did see a double stack go on there, mate. Now, you dragged both your cars in thinking that was going to be a safety car, and there's a bit of a quabble about what went up on the timing screens and what didn't, and you obviously reacted to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we wouldn't obviously have pitted if we didn't think it was, and our timing screens came up yellow, so that's the indication it's a safety car. And we got both cars into fuel as we planned on doing and spoken about, so I'm not really sure what happened there. Obviously, we're a lap down now, so we need a real safety car now to get us back on the lead lap. But yeah, obviously reacted to our screens going yellow.
Bad luck, Scott. I think that was a bit unfortunate.
Adrian Burgess, there was lots of confusion about that safety car situation. You pitted Greg Murphy and obviously next door Nick Percat and the other car. Just talk us through what your thoughts were on that situation.
Oh, they put the message out that a safety car was coming out. Clearly you could see the car on the wall. Came through the data stream that the safety car was on its way out. So we did what the strategy told us to do. Clearly they've decided to change their mind halfway through. Yeah, we've taken a stop we didn't really want to take, but you look at the monitor, we've got green boxes, so we just got a motor on, head down, we've got a track position, we've got green tyres on the car. Yeah, we're not out of it yet. Murph will do a good job.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian's point's a good one. They're not out of it yet, just because of where it fell. We've got about 4 or 5 strategy options that we plot in here, and it is one of them to actually stop at that point. I won't bore everybody with the detail. The problem is that, as I say, you end up buried, and in some cases you can end up being a lap down as a result of it, but these things have a habit of sorting themselves out a little bit further down the road. I have to say, in defence of Cam's race control, when you saw Craig Baird parked up there for so long and not being able to get reversed, that's what would have been happening. But they get sector marshal radio messages. The sector marshals would have been in contact with race control trying to make a decision. And of course, ultimately, Craig was able to fire it, was able to get reverse and get it out there. So that's the reason why they would have had to stand it down. But it's just as hard for everybody in the management situation of the race as it is for those running cars. Sometimes there end up being knife-edge decisions. So at the time, they probably would have thought that they were triggering the right call, and then probably at the literal moment where they pushed the button, the damn thing started and got out of the hole.
I agree, and you have to sympathise with the administrators under that scenario, because they are genuinely trying to keep the race going without having to put the safety car out. And the guys in Cam's race control had the car on standby, ended up saying that they weren't, and that was fine, because at the end of the day, Craig Baird was able to get the car moving. What Murph's got to do, and I totally agree with you, Neil, you just got to get your head down now and press on. He is pressing on. He's actually been very fast. He's done a 12.51. The fastest lap of the race is a 12.42 from Dumbrell, so he's right up there in terms of speed. And that will serve him well, because if you have a bit of a drama going, you're much better off to have that going at the start of the race. You've got the whole day, other safety cars, other circumstances, other incidents. They tend to play your way a little bit then, and you can recover. So Greg Murphy currently right down in 20th, but on our corrected numbers, he's probably 5th or 6th.
Just got an update that's usually the invisible right-hand column of problems on race cars is invoked by drivers and teams when we often find out what's going on at the end of the day. Here's one for you. The lid has come off the dry ice in Stephen Richards' cool suit system. So there's dry ice blazing around inside the cabin of car 888.
Which then wouldn't make the cool suit work.
Correct.
So for all day, you haven't got a cool suit.
Conversely, it'll be a hot suit. So that is very uncomfortable. Take a break. We're at Surfers Paradise, and Paul Dumbrell has got control of the race at the moment by a handy margin.
Hey, Morris, not 4 minutes. 5 laps to go, 5 laps to go. Have a drink, have a got the front bar that you could put up 1 or 2 clips if you needed to. Keep it up.
Car 17, advance, Watson, ship flag, curve over, yes.
Completed, 30 laps completed, right. Yeah, good pace though, let's go.
Waiting on fuel. Pit lane's clear. Get ready. Go. Good job. Great job, buddy. Triple turns the lap down, mate. You've got fresh tires. Don't matter.
That's an eager Scott McLaughlin standing by, ready to jump in car number 33. At the moment, his teammate Alex Premer's doing a great job in position number 2. Here we are inside the garage at Red Bull Racing. That's Craig Lowndes on the right of screen making preparations. And you see they've got the cool box that holds the dry ice down there because they're going to try and deal with that problem that Stephen Richards has got that I made mention of before there as well. So they're talking about the drill and the way in which they'll actually manage that, because the first priority is they've got to do the fuel, the tyres and all the regular things, the tear off if required, and get their drivers exchanged. And there's a limitation on the number of people that can work on the car. Then they'll deal with peripheral problems, and that's one of them, Larko.
Neil, as we approach this round of pit stops, just to go back and reflect on what happened back there. I've spoken to a few of the team managers. Up on the timing screens, it did go yellow. So what they did is react. But as you know, we hear Cams, Tim Schenken, familiar voice, say safety board and safety car, or safety car and board. Now, that call was never made, so some guys reacted. But sometimes that's a choice you've got to make. If you're near the pit lane entry, you make a judgment. There's a crash, it's a big enough crash, I'm going in. So the guys didn't do anything wrong. Hey, one of those things that happened.
Yeah, it was, and it's unfortunate. Unfortunately, this is a knife-edge business, and every now and again, something will happen in and around the precinct that isn't exactly ideal. Look at this. This little battle's heating up nicely here at the moment, isn't it? Jonathan Webb having a look up on the outside of turn 4. Alex Premer is in his targets at the moment. Meantime, back down the order, they've got a bit of traffic to deal with as well, because Alex Bunkum's there in car number 7 together with 222 Ollie Gavin. So the Englishmen are having a bit of a crack at it here as well, just in the foreground.
And I was talking to Richard Holway just before the start. One of the things that they're still battling to deal with and not happy with the Volvo at the moment is it does use its tyres quite hard, and that's the circumstance you can see there now with Dumbrell with almost 6-second lead over Premer and Webb, and he was complaining a second ago about the tyre quality at the rear not being very good now. Low speed drive traction is the issue. I heard Mark Larkham talk about it a little while ago, and this is a circuit that has a lot of that circumstance. If the car's not good in that area, you will battle. There's Richard there. One of the most experienced guys in pit lane, one of the brightest guys, done a great job with this Volvo program, everyone involved, to have the car as competitive in its first year as it's been.
We're approaching a couple of key moments in this race. You can see the Penrite graphic down there at the moment, they're on lap 34. That's the 34 laps is the minimum requirement for co-drivers. So once we clear that 34th lap, that's one little box tick that gives you a bit more flexibility, and some teams are reacting. And the start range of the cars with the United E85 that they use, look at this, Webb up the inside. Oh, that was narrow. He got the thing loose over the hump there, but he gets by. He gets by. That was a nice little job. He forced the issue, Jonathan Webb, and he did a very good job in a gap that almost didn't exist at the critical moment. Alex Premer had to roll out of the throttle briefly. Here it is again on the Gillette replay. Look at this over the hump, and that's not an easy needle to thread because it's dirty on that side of the road. There's a huge camber fall on the road. Here's from the chopper, the Gillette replay. Have a look at this. So they're hooking gears. They're building up to 245 kilometres an hour. And actually, looks a bit easier from the chopper. I can assure you in the driver's seat that wouldn't be pleasant. So typically they can get out to about 39 laps of fuel range from a standing start with no safety car. But because we've got to the minimum requirement for the co-drivers, they're going to pull them in now. So in comes the race leader, Paul Dumbrell. And that's Jamie Whincup in the foreground. Jonathan Webb grabbed a critical position right there. That was important. That was a very good move. Stephen Richards is the leader of the race now. Remember, they don't want a double stack. They leave car 888 out there. They've got a little question mark over the dry ice in their car.
And what it will do, Neil, is it'll allow Van Gisbergen to get out in front of McLaughlin. So that could be a pivotal move in the race. That wild little moment there with Webb and Prema. So all of the lead guys at the moment in pit lane.
If you recall it, and you were watching our coverage yesterday, McLaughlin had a bit of an awkward driver change at one point.
Oh, that was awkward.
Close.
So we just said that was going to serve him well. It was a really good stop by everyone at Gary Rogers there to get that car out in front of Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, so that was the placing exchange that we saw in those replays just a few moments ago. So that's critical. Nice job for the boys down at Volvo. And but look at this. In fact, I was going to say it looked to me a little bit like Scotty was semi-dawdling down there. And so there's a game on here at the moment, and this might all unfold once more. Unbelievable. So Shane Van Gisbergen squeezing hard, squeezing, and it all goes round one more time, and McLaughlin loses a spot. He's probably not going to be thrilled by that, but he didn't look like he got into it straight away on those cold tyres. He might have felt a little insecure, but there was no stopping Shane Van Gisbergen, who just went whack.
Well, I think the instruction normally is to not use the tyre too hard, so he was actually trying to be reasonably conservative, especially on those curbs. This is the car that's got the drama with the cool suit. You can see there all the rectification works taking place.
5 seconds. Pit lane is clear. 3 seconds. Clear, you're still clear. Still clear, we've got a Norton car coming down. You're clear.
So there was certainly some time burnt there, but what they wanted to do was replenish the dry ice, because that obviously would have been affected without the lid, and then secure a new lid on there. That has hurt them, but it's not terminal. It's going to be very close down here. There's some screaming going on at Ford Performance Racing at the moment as well. Car number 5, Steve Owen and Mark Winterbottom. Here's that replay. Actually, that was seriously close to an unsafe release then, wasn't it?
And a wheel spinning too.
Now, it wasn't a full rotation, which might save Van Gisbergen here. Lucky he grabbed the brake.
Gee, he was almost on top of that wheel also. So then this is the dive. They come out of the pits. He fires down there. Scott runs a little bit wide, but he gets assistance. So Shane actually was into the back of him, pushed him wide. Look at the damage on the back of the Valvoline sign. Here it is. So there's a wheel spinning. I reckon that one's just gone into gear, to be honest. I think that one's fine. But this is dangerous. Check this out. Wheels locked, almost on top of the wheel from Brad Jones Racing. And he got away with it. There was no contact. See what the officials deem. I think that one will be okay also.
Yeah, they look carefully to see whether or not it's just a gear engagement, because there will be a shift in the rear wheels at that point, or whether it's a rotation. That wasn't a rotation. And these are live pictures again now of this battle, which was a terrific battle before the stop. And Jonathan Webb got by Alex Prema. Then we stopped, and in that wild bit of release and manoeuvring there, together with the the aggressive rejoin, we've seen the tables turn once more. Pretty good.
And in this weird game we play, D'Alberto and Murphy are now leading. After that early stop, they've been very fast, both guys. In fact, D'Alberto's done a 12.52, Murphy's done a 12.51. Dumbrell had previously the fastest lap of the race with a 12.42. Jamie Whincup now on board. So a couple of things have happened. That early strategy at the moment, again, they've got the whole day to make it up. They're out of phase with the leaders, but they are back up there again.
Stephen Richards, it's certainly hot here on the Gold Coast, and you were doing that stint with a problem with the dry ice. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no problem. Is that
It's actually about 12 laps before the end of the stint, and the whole lid off the cool box came out. I was like driving in the snow. I had dry ice all over, falling across me everywhere. So no problem. The last 10 laps was fine.
And your stint, it's pretty wild out there at the moment.
Just struggled for rear tyre grip. Tyres went away very quickly, but then they sort of hung on compared to the front guys, and then just managing it. But managing the snow in the car was the biggest issue.
How do we take that? But good luck for the rest of the race.
Thanks.
Caught Jono Webber's walking out the back here to cool off, mate. Mega stint first off. I've got to say, for a guy that's a team owner that's sort of semi-retired, that was a ballsy move on Prema, but was potentially a really important one, and you knew that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest problem we had was that Nissan was holding both of us up. Sat back, thought he'll get past him and then I'll follow him through, but I was sitting back losing too long, and I could see PD was just running away. So it was only a lap till I came in anyway, but I thought, hey, I'll grab it now, take it all I can and push on. And yeah, the car's in good condition, so fingers crossed for Shane.
Strong again today, mate.
Thank you.
Jonathan Webb there, he's driving car number 97 with Shane Van Gisbergen. Yesterday's winner, race number 31, they got 150 points to their credit for all of that. Gillette replay shows us a bit of action here involving car number 47. Oh, and the FPR car, that was 6. Yeah, and I think that's Chaz. Oh, no, Paul's still in the car, that's right, because they're out of sequence. He locked a brake. I couldn't work out why he went across the traffic island. That was pretty weird.
Just got away with that one. Normally, when you lock a wheel there, you go straight into the Castrol sign, and this is this amazing replay shots that we've got. Brought to you by Gillette Mac 3, and this is at turn 3. Right against the fence and right up on 2 wheels. Great shots. This is 145 kilometres an hour in that little section. One of the best chicanes, and look at the alteration to the grille and front fascia there on the Nissan Altima. It's been fairly hurt.
Straight down to the parts department tomorrow for that one. Oh, they've actually left a bit of paper on that. That's untidy. Don't think it's masking the brake duct, which is just above it. Problem here for car number 21. Dale Wood is driving this Advam GB galvanising car, and it's parked awkwardly. Can't even it's after turn 13, up at the northern end of the racetrack.
Safety car boards and flags, safety car boards and flags, safety car stand by.
So Petter's Chrysler safety car on standby. There's Cam's race control. You can see they've got all the same monitors we do, plus their own closed circuit television, together with radio comms to all the sector marshals. And as always, shout out to the hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers that it takes. Volunteers that it takes to run this event. There's enormous numbers of them. It was Michael Massey assisting Tim Schenken, the race director there, and driving standards observer is Jason Barguano. So I wonder what's happened with this car. Car number 21 it is. Dale Wood, Chris Pither. They stopped on lap number 35, so only 4 or 5 laps into a sequence here. And Delberto's coming in out of the lead into the pits here. So they're shifting their strategy.
Wait for me, wait for me.
So Tony's cleared his minimum driver laps. So oddly enough, where this one's fallen is kind of in line with what we would call our standard strategy. Except that they did stop earlier. What we need to do is draw up all these graphs that we have, Scapey, and share them with 500,000 people. You can do the runaround for that.
Yeah. So they were affected. They come in very early as the first lot of guys that stopped on lap 18, and now on lap 41 back out again.
Take a break on the Gold Coast. Jamie Whincup is our race leader. It's getting intriguing in the sunshine.
light off, green light off. You're coming to the back of the queue. The safety car is now approaching that corner. There will be a recovery vehicle on track. Just manage it.
Car 97 is to go behind at car 33. 97 is to go behind at car 33. Nice there. Coming up the last third now, mate. Yeah, just in front of you. I'll pitting. I'll be pitting. Yes, mate. Letting copy that. Bring the rebar and pull wide. Left, front, right, going to be a driver change, mate. Going to be coming in the pit lane shortly. Driver change, driver change. Loosen your belt. Make sure you loosen your belt completely. Disconnect your cool suit. Make sure it's in neutral in the box. Stop on the mark. Don't overshoot it, buddy. Disconnect your radio.
Mirror? Is the mirror good? Yep, we're all good. Just waiting on fuel. Go, go, go.
And welcome back. So this is good strategy from FPR because this has got them back on the lead lap. They left Paul Morris out there when the safety car was deployed. The field bunched up. He's now come in. He'll go out at the back of the queue, but he's got his lap back. So a pivotal move for Mostert and Morris. So Whincup leads from McLaughlin, Van Gisbergen, Reynolds, Tander, Lowndes, Caruso, Moffat, Davison, Coulthard. That's your top 10. As I said, they will come out at the back now with car 6, but it was a very, very good manoeuvre. Just looking at the redressing of that little piece there because there must have been drama for the bump and run at turn 4. So he's been told to redress that because he was against the back of the car. We had great vision in our replay of him resting against the back of the Volvo and pushing him wide. It was assessed to be very similar to the circumstance yesterday with Mark Winterbottom and Tim Slade. So they were told to redress it, and that's exactly what happened under safety car conditions. Now that's some of the epoxy. There's a surface coating on the road which we used at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago, and that's a complete run there, and that's actually tyre or rubber that gets basically put into some of the little vibrations as the car gets to the apex of the corner. It shutters up and starts to pull that rubber away. It's a soft compound tyre this weekend.
Yeah, so the amount of marbling that is involved in that is a bit of an issue. So we've just had the green call on the race management channel for us to get underway once again. Whincup in control. McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen in big dispute down here for the minor placing. You've just described what's going on between those guys, and this is going to be an interesting challenge down here, Scafey. Van Gisbergen's got to pull this thing up and change its direction, and he does. But car number 2, Garth Tander, had to go straight ahead.
Well, Reynolds was into the back of him. So they were making contact in behind. That was a messy restart.
It was, again.
Why would they be alongside each other? At that point of the race, McLaughlin should have been in second. I don't understand.
Oh dear, those two Nissans actually clobbered each other. Apologies, Mark, but they actually had a little touch there.
They did the same thing last year. I remember us commenting last year about boys in the same team running into each other.
Yeah, so that was James Moffat and Michael Caruso. Had a little love fight on the run up the back straight there, so that was very close. Made me hold my breath. So it is Whincup, a couple of car lengths over Van Gisbergen, who hung tough when they got down to the turn 1 chicane, and Moffat just slid it up to and dragged it along the wall with the left rear bumper then. So James is pushing very hard at the moment. I also suspect that some of those that started in the first stint wouldn't have started on the absolute best rubber that the teams had, Mark, because clearly the later in the day you are, the more you want to keep your best rubber for last. Started the weekend with 32 of the Dunlop soft tyres. They hand 1 set back on Friday, so they remain with 7 sets for the balance of the weekend. How you choose to manage them is actually critical. Now we're going to have a look at this replay of the start thanks to Gillette, and there's Dale Wood just parked off to the side of the road down there. We'll get to the bottom of what his troubles are, but your point's right, MS. It's very messy. They are allowed to overlap after the apex of turn 15, listening to the driver's briefing the other night, but it just looked like there was a disproportionate gap as Whincup blazed and the others didn't.
That's exactly right, and what it did is it put Van Gisbergen in position A for the first corner, and this is this bumping between Moffat.
They touched.
They absolutely touched. It's about 245 kilometres an hour. It's a bit of drama going on down there at the moment for James Courtney. I don't know what happened because he's lost a spot in that. There's another one of the Nissans that were involved. I don't know whether it's 15 or 7. We'll get that for you at 7. Larko?
Yeah, just to put a full stop on that, I'll tell Brad Jones, mate, your Dale Wood car, I know you're busy in this garage, broke a belt on the front of the engine, so no oil pressure, no power steering, so that's all hard. But, mate, your two other main cars, Coulthard and Bridie, 10th and 16th, you've had a really great year, but they're just not quite firing this weekend, mate.
No, we're really struggling with the roughness of the circuit, so trying to get the thing to stop on the bumps has been very difficult for us. So I think we're not in a bad spot, I mean, considering where we started, but track position's everything here. Rather than stop Jason, fill him up with fuel, you know, get 5 seconds worth of fuel and drop him behind 3 cars, we decided to keep the track position. So here, track position's king.
And Brad, you made an interesting point to me a minute ago that you think maybe some of the guys didn't fill their cars up, which is not a bad strategy also.
Yeah, well, you know, you just track position's everything. So if you short fill, but then once one does it, everyone knows, and so they're all short filling. So it'll be interesting to see how the back half of the race unfolds.
All right, thanks, buddy.
No worries, thank you.
Yeah, they play games with the amount of fuel that...
Black flag, car 97, pit lane penalty, pit lane drive-through penalty for and restart, safety car restart infringement.
Oh, this is bad news for Shane Van Gisbergen. So that replay that we saw before. So a restart infringement for Shane Van Gisbergen. He's going to get that information from his crew shortly.
So there's 2 aspects. Is it because of the speed differential, did he not maintain speed, or did he pass before the control line? So we just need to clarify what he's been pinged for here with this infringement. So have a look. So there's Whincup. He blazes up alongside. You're allowed to overlap, but you can't pass.
Yeah, I've got it here. And I think he has passed there. But for the avoidance of doubt, this was issued this morning by race control. In accordance with the rules, cars are only permitted to overlap after the apex of the final corner once the announcement that the safety car has entered the pit lane has occurred. Now, that might be the critical thing here. The announcement may not have come.
I need you to drive straight through pit lane, mate. Drive straight through pit lane.
Because the overlap didn't occur until the last corner, which is 15, but maybe the overlap occurred before the race management channel called.
He has. He's touched the brake there. So he looked like he was going to pass, so that's what he did. He's allowed to overlap. He knew he couldn't pass. He propped on the brake.
Trouble here also. Shane Van Gisbergen's not happy, as you can hear in the background. This is Jack Perkins. He's gone into the wall at turn 12 on the track bomb that you spoke about before, Scafey, with that extra bit of rubber from all the rubber debris that's building up there. So he's got it mobile. So it's complex to work out that one because we don't have all the facts, but it might also be that Shane got by him and then had to prop it to go back in line. Here's the replay of what happened here. There was contact with car number 16, Scott Pye, contact between Pye and Perkins. And Perkins ends up just nudging into that wall on the outside there. Here's the battle for the lead. And it's steam coming out the ears at the moment of Shane Van Gisbergen. Race winner yesterday. Handsomely closed the margin in the championship as a result of his great run. Also very strong in the Pertec Enduro Cup because of yesterday's run, but he's going to have to come through the pit lane. He'll cop a black flag and then he's got 4 laps to respond. So the black flag is out there at the moment. You might see it on this shot. No, he's in.
This transit time is 31.5 seconds when you do that, when you don't have to stop. So they know how crucial that is. Yeah, you can also tell that Shane's hasn't got a big fit of the giggles over that. So Van Gisbergen, penalty. Man who won yesterday. He's been driving so well. He was in contention at Bathurst. We saw the disaster of a pit stop and stalling at Bathurst put him out of contention late in the race. Larko?
Steve, can I just ask your view on that, mate? I mean, watching the vision, clearly Shane didn't overlap until he was past the apex, but obviously maybe the safety car call wasn't made. What's your read?
Look, we can't argue about an instruction from race control over the pit lane. over the radio. So our hands are tied. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I can't say anything until I could talk to someone and understand why they've done this. But we can't argue. We have to do it.
All right, Steve. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, and Steve's been around long enough to know and understand that. He's engineered some of the biggest names in motorsport. Gerhard Berger, Mika Hakkinen, Fernando Alonso, Martin Brundle. He's also spent time in NASCAR, Michael Waltrip Racing. He also knows that one fight that you can't pick is with race control. So black flag is a black flag. They've brought him in. So their job now is to counsel Shane Van Gisbergen as best they can to try and get the cork back in the bottle somewhat there. He's 21st. And see whether or not a safety car or something else just helps them play back into the game, and we'll chase the story for you and try and find some answers. 2.8 seconds is the gap between Whincup and McLaughlin. Oh, contact! That was contact, and barely able to get away with it. That car went straight out of rhythm.
That was a big moment. I thought he was going to spin round then. We were on board. He got away with it. Got tapped by Courtney. And I'm not sure why. Maybe there's more damage on the front of that car than we think. Courtney looks like he's slowing. Yep, he is slowing. So, disaster for car 22. I think he's got a flat left front, or I'm just trying to pick up what the actual damage is. So everyone at Holden Racing Team now getting organised to service that car. One of the great jobs so far today, Croppo, is Stevie Johnson, who's still in the car. They've decided to keep him in. He started 22nd, he's 12th, 10 positions up the field.
So here's the Gillette replay, shows what happened down here to car number 22. And we were riding with car 5 at the time when all of a sudden I gulped air and went, what was that about? So here it is from all the different angles. So Winterbottom's in that car at the moment. He almost ended up in the wall down there, and James Courtney's going to have to come in and have that dealt with. Now, a bit of an update as to what happened with car number 97. So what's occurred here is, as I suggested before, you're not allowed to overlap or pass until the safety car's in the pit lane and the call has come over the race management channel, and then you can go. The call hadn't come from race management channel, and that's the reason why the penalty's been levied. Car 16 has also just been given, Scott Pye has been given a drive through, and look at the steering on James Courtney's car. Dave Stewart.
That was Perkins. That was with that drama that we saw up there before. Steering's bent, look at that. So as he's gone out, you can see his right hand was much lower than his left. So have a look here where it straightens back up again. It's broken a steering arm at the same time. See how it's massively right hand down. We'll get it again when he comes out of the hairpin. So see there now, that's supposed to be straight, and it's tracking everywhere.
He needs to slow down. It's got nearly 45 degrees of right-hand lock on it there at the moment, so he has slowed down now, James Courtney.
Pitting again into the garage, into the box. Into the garage, we'll change the steering arm.
Yeah, he's worked it out now. Rob Starr, his engineer, vastly experienced. You saw there was a conversation in there as well involving the sporting and technical director of V8 Supercars, Dave Stewart. And James just propping there at the moment to stay out of everybody's way. That was the race leader, Jamie Whincup, that just rounded James up at turn 11.
And the reason they're coming in to change that, I overheard Rob Starr there giving those orders, is he's equal fifth in the championship with Chaz Mostert and Fabian Coulthard. So any points you can get, they're 589 points away from Whincup, but any points you can get will be well served. This is Steve Johnson. And remember, he's effectively co-driving with David Waugh, but they've left him in for 2 stints of the race because he's been going so well.
He's quick. He was quick all through practice. He's been quick in qualifying, and he's going quickly in the races at the moment. Behind him at the moment is Robert Dahlgren in that 34 Volvo, and then Mark Winterbottom. Let's go down to Mark Larkin.
Yeah, and as James Courtney comes in, they're going to poke him in the garage here, and Scapey, you're exactly right. I mean, he can actually blaze around and lose a couple of seconds a lap and probably end up spending or losing less time than he will in the garage here. But the great danger around this circuit with concrete everywhere is it will take its toll on one of the tyres with a steering bent like that and ultimately potentially puncture it, put you in the fence, no points.
Yeah, exactly, Larko.
Okay, so Holden Racing Team are now addressing the issue with the steering on James Courtney's car. That bumps him out of contention. Whincup is still the leader by 3.5 seconds. What a gorgeous view looking along the Surfers Paradise beaches, and then back onto the racetrack here, overhead turn number 11, where the race leader, who's going very quickly, is Jamie Whincup. He's just achieved the fastest lap of the races. We now have a peep at some highlights, and there's been quite a number of them. So a much better start today than it was yesterday. And up the inside here, and a change for the lead, Paul Dumbrell. Thought that was going to happen off the start, but it didn't actually end up happening. Paul Morris was getting fumbled there early in the game. There was a little bit of nose-to-tail contact, as there always is down at that chicane. And that was Craig Baird ending up, unfortunately, in the outside wall down there at turn 11, which damaged that car. As always, the rear chicane here has claimed cars and front bumpers in particular, just dislodging the front bumper on the Alex Buncombe number 7 Todd Kelly Nissan. That was a wild move. Jonathan Webb, just before he pitted, was able to move to second and displace Alex Premer, and then there was a wild release and a prop on the brake for Shane Van Gisbergen, who was pushing hard on Scotty McLaughlin. At turn 4, he gave him a little tap, which was frowned upon by race control. And look at this, on and on and on it went. Van Gisbergen actually claimed a position here. Meantime, problem with oil pressure and a belt's come off the engine of Dale Wood's car, triggered a safety car while they dealt with it. Confusion at the restart. Race management channel hadn't been called. Van Gisbergen was too aggressive. He's been given a drive-through penalty as a result of bolting too early down there. Frank Adamson from V8 Supercar in conversation with team manager Steve Hallam. That was James Courtney and Mark Winterbottom. Adrian Burgess, the team manager at the Holden Racing team, knows that that was a drama for James because it damaged the steering on the Holden Racing team Commodore. We are now back live, looking at car number 8. Well, Scapey, it's been a busy afternoon as always, and we're past the halfway mark of this race, and there's still a lot to play for here. And Whincup, McLaughlin and Tander look racy. In fact, I took an opportunity for a quick pit stop myself before, and when I was coming back, a voice screamed out at me. It was Warren Luff in an ice bath naked, so I kept running. Fast, I can tell you. But they're looking all right at the moment. He's in the top 3. We'll take another break, and we'll come back with more action here for V8 Supercars on the Gold Coast. Scary. We're back on the Gold Coast, and we're looking towards the nose of the Red Bull Holden of Craig Lowndes from the rear bumper of the Botlow Ford Falcon driven by David Reynolds. These fellas at the moment are 4th and 5th. They're heading north. We're looking south, if you follow. And this is turn 11. But just here in this braking area for turn 12, there was a little bit of debris. We actually just passed it then on the side of the racetrack, and it's metallic. So race control will have a careful look at that. These fellas, and there it is.
Can't work out what it is.
No. I don't know what that is, but it's that would be a nasty object to be flicked around. So that is something that will be looked at carefully by race management. Now, it's not a bad job for Craig Lowndes here at the moment, because remember, if you're watching the coverage a little bit earlier in the day, the lid came off the cool box of car 888 when Stephen Richards was driving, so they spent extra time in the pit rectifying that problem. So they've recovered reasonably well from that, given that there were quite a number of seconds wasted in the pit stop.
So we're just getting to the critical lap number that Mark Larkham explained earlier. 62, 61 laps, and if a safety car comes out for that, that'll test the fuel economy for the boys, Larko.
Certainly will, mate. I'm down here with a very despondent James Courtney, mate. I'm talking to you too often, mate, at the wrong time. Unfortunate contact there.
Yeah, it's massively disappointing. We had great car speed all weekend and just had one drama after another, so it's massively disappointing. It, you know, coming off what happened at Bathurst as well, and then the weekend we've had here, it's you know, it's a big blow, but Garth looks like he's doing pretty good on the other side. Slady was third yesterday, so for a team, still doing pretty good, but unfortunately the 22 is not having the best of times at the moment.
That's just the sort of bloke you are, though, thinking about your teammates, mate. Good sportsmanship, well done.
Yeah, so for James Courtney, the endurance campaign for the Pertec Enduro Cup got off to a pretty good start with Greg Murphy down at Sandown, but went pear-shaped. Oh, front grille from the Ford. That's just a little bit of plastic, but it went pear-shaped at Bathurst, as we've described over the weekend, and then it's been a difficult weekend for them up here, and they came into the race today in equal fifth position with Chaz Mostert, Fabian Coulthard, James Courtney, all sharing 2,096 points. So they'll want to get that car out there, which is why James is still in and dressed, and they'll repair it and send him. The reason they want to do that is because, provided he's classified, points are awarded. So that was the voice again of Tim Schenken, the race director, and no surprise, it's the metal object which has just been run over and skittled to the inside. Actually, no, it's close enough to the racing line there that that's an issue.
It looks like a spoiler mount or a front air dam mount off one of the Nissans, I think. So it's the plastic structure that mounts the front air dam.
Yeah.
Now, this will be drama. There'll be queuing here.
Yeah, I was about to say there will be queuing for sure, because we're right on the cusp of that get-home point that Mark Larkham talks about, the critical lap. Yeah, so the real concern there, just so everybody knows, is that when there are objects on the track, what you cannot have is a situation, and it's very easy to flick them up, where they cross the fence and end up in the crowd. That's the reason for the reaction. In they come. This is probably...
That left front looked like it was stuck then on Garth Tander's car.
Now, they let Jamie have priority there, and Craig Lowndes and Stephen Johnson, Shane Van Gisbergen have gone round. Because I was going to say one of the teams affected by this will be Red Bull, because their cars were quite close. So Lowndes is still on circuit. He's actually in the back chicane at the moment, tucked up behind the safety car. See that car park there of car number 6, Chaz Mostert, really awkward because he's double stacking. Now they've got him in, and that narrowed up the fast lane for those that are rejoining the track there as well. Being serviced now.
So this is going to be interesting to see what they do with 888. Whether they do come in because they are banking on the safety car being out for long enough to be able to do it on the next lap rather than stack.
Yeah, so Lowndes, Stephen Johnson, Shane Van Gisbergen, they didn't come in. They are actually queued up behind the safety car. They're at the northern end of the circuit. Here they are. Meantime, those that have taken service, led by Jamie Whincup, he's already at turn 11. He's only 2.5 corners away from joining on the back of this train. So if they peel Lowndes off now, he'll go to the back of the queue, but there could be a bit of a fuel save game going on here. We'll try and work all this out for you, Larko.
I reckon you're right, Neil. I'm just looking down the other end of the pit lane. I don't see any Red Bull guys out on the lane, because remember, the whole reason you double stack is to avoid this. This kills you if you have to get tucked up behind for a safety car for a lap and come in. So there's no one coming out on the lane. He's clearly going to stay behind that car. And really painful also for the Holden Racing Team guys. They're working on James Courtney's car here. As you said, fifth in the championship. He's got to try and get points. But because you've only got a regulated amount of performance personnel allowed in the team, when that safety car call came, everyone charged out from under the car onto the pit lane to effect the pit stop. And there goes Craig Lowndes right on by.
So, Larko, the thing that's really interesting is they must be saying at 888 that they can't make it home from there. So, I can't work it out.
Well, he stopped on lap 35. There's no way they can make it home from there. So we'll work on it. We'll come up with some answers in a moment. Take a break.
Wheels are done. Pit lane's clear. Pit lane's clear. Go. Hold green tyres, mate. Hold green tyres. Co-driver light off. And push around, mate. Pushing out past the line. There's still cars crossing.
Maintain 60. We're going to do at least one more lap. Safety car at 60.
That's the Red Bull Racing Australia Holden Commodore team preparing for a pit stop for Craig Lowndes, who leads the field, but he will come in. So I think my hunch was right, that he rolled around gently in fuel conservation mode, stretching as much as he could. They'll bring him in now. They'll stick 4 wheels and tyres on that car, fill it up, and then he's not fuel compromised to the end of the race.
That's right.
But he's got no track position, so he goes to the back of the queue. However, all those that stopped, let me see, the safety car came out on lap 59.
Yep,
lap 59, 60. They're going to be right on the awkward edge of trying to get home. So this is the same thing. We sing this song frequently about how to manage fuel to get to the end. So it's going to be a battle of the key runners at the front at the moment, led by Whincup, McLaughlin, Reynolds, Caruso, Tander, etc., and how hard they can push, assuming no further safety car. That's probably a pretty big assumption. Lowndes will go to the back of the queue, but he's going to have enough fuel because he stopped later and filled her up to go crazy.
But the safety car's been out for long enough, Neil. Although they did come in on 59, the safety car's been out for long enough, they'll probably make it home.
Well, it might help those, because every lap that it's out there helps those that are at the front of the queue, which is your point.
And that's a really good point, Scafie. Let's go quickly back to the whiteboard. Remember, our critical lap, 61. Now, that safety car came at 59, so just a fraction too early. Cars can do 41 laps on a tank of fuel. So what Craig's done, he's come in here and said, I'm filling up. I'm going to make it comfortably all the way home. The rest of them are just back here a little bit. And as the boys just said, now, if they get a couple of laps now, they can all save. And if they're not going to make it, I don't... Now, what you've got to do at the front of the race now is push hard and make everyone use a lot of fuel. This will go down to the wire.
Oh, no, not again. I need new tonsils. This is going to be a real nail-biter to the end, isn't it? Again. And that's on the assumption that there's no further intervention by the Petters safety car. And that's a big call at this place, which is high risk.
Garth Tander was a loser in that stop, Neil. He come in third and was in front of Reynolds. He's now fifth. So Reynolds and Caruso have actually jumped him. So Whincup, McLaughlin, Reynolds, Caruso, Tander. And they had a drama with the left front. We saw a little snippet of that in the stop. 4 or 5 seconds that cost them versus the people they were racing. Isn't this a classic shot from the Coates Hire chopper? That's the northern end of the track. We're just about to get a restart.
So there's that final apex right there of turn 15. You're allowed to overlap at that point, but it's a very awkward thing to do. So you heard the race management channel call. We're restarting once again. We've had 2 safety car interventions. Will we have another? 63 laps have been banked. It's 102 laps. Lowndes is all the way down the back of the field. Oh, contact. Winterbottom almost found the wall there. That was awkward. And that was Will Davison, his former teammate that he was roughing up with, I think.
Certainly was. He was bumping him on the way into turn 1. And look at this. This is a move. Slade now alongside Tander. This will be interesting when you get up here. Slade gets away with it. Oh, that was so close. Fabian Coulthard almost made contact with Tander when they had to yield. Oh, they've now made contact. That is so wild. You know, with the fences on either side of the track, I think he's gone.
He's got something wrong.
Tander's got something wrong. He's going to punch him now.
Yeah, you can actually see the right rear. That's a pretty tough deal there for Garth. That was a magic save because he nearly got rotated there, well above 200 kilometres an hour, with the right rear tyre deflating. And it caught Fabian by surprise, caught everybody by surprise. What a disaster for those guys. What a shame.
Well, they were genuinely in contention. That's why I was saying about their pit stop. And a big moment for Whincup. He almost didn't make it then. These guys are sprinting. And check Caruso out, because he has got absolute pace. Straight down the inside. Very nice move on Dave Reynolds.
He was left out a little bit in our description yesterday, sadly, because there was a lot going on. But he did a nice job yesterday. Here's what happened between Winterbottom and Davison down here. Oh, it's because Will had a little moment. And Will's moment, actually, I don't think it was a touch. No. Will's moment actually triggered another in turn for Frosty. So they didn't actually get together down there through turn 2 and 3. Yeah, just making the point, Scafey, that Caruso was very speedy yesterday. He came home in 5th place in car number 36, and there's the Gillette replay of that right rear Dunlop tyre deflated on Garth Tander's car. Did he get a nudge? Was there something on the racetrack? Don't know.
Good save.
Was a very good save. The one prior to that was the one, the high-speed save.
Yeah. It sort of come from the problems they had, the proximity of the 3 cars going into the fast chicane. So I keep saying it, so fast, 245 kilometres an hour. They got to the fast chicane, they got through there, didn't, I thought, have an entry incident. And then on the exit, Fabian gave Garth a little bump, right out sideways, and right-hand rear tyre deflated for Garth Tander.
Oh, Van Gisbergen, aggressive move down the inside of Jack Perkins at 4. He's going to have the eyes on as well. So there are a couple of quick guys buried in here. There's Lowndes in the background as well. So Lowndes is coming through the field. Van Gisbergen is coming through the field. Lowndes is 18th. Van Gisbergen is 12th. They're hunting down Whincup, who was just given the message, and we've heard it before, only 14 days ago. We need to think about fuel conservation.
Well, I saw him before. This is the spot. So on the exit, he's got a little bump. That was so out of control. And then have a look at the save. Tander turns it in, and he's sideways. And what about the boys in at Walkinshaw Racing? I saw Justin Burns there at the front. Oh, and here's a crash here for Moffat. That's turn 11. And that's hit very hard.
If there's a safety car, there will be a safety car with that level of damage. That could let Whincup and Co off the hook here. That's going to take at least 2 or 3 laps to recover. It's wiped the right-hand front off that car. You can see where it's made contact with the tyre barrier and the wall. It's bounced James Moffat back, who ended up out of sequence because, remember, he was in a big battle with his teammate Michael Caruso earlier.
That's right. The one we didn't pick up on is Will Davison was limping just before that safety car. We saw the back straight shot of smoke coming from the E63, and he was folding his way back. In fact, he's way back now in 19th. So he was very strong prior to that.
So we need to keep an eye on a couple of things here. This will probably be a 2 or 3 lap recovery to get these cars sorted. Here's what happened. We'll see. We're looking for James Moffat, car number 360.
He bumps the inside wall.
Because there was nobody around him effectively. He didn't get any assistance. Jack Perkins, Jason Bright, Chaz Mostert, and there's, that's big contact for James Moffat. So he's clipped the apex of the inside there at turn 11. And it's launched it straight into the concrete barrier up there. Apex speed at that corner is around about 80 kilometres an hour, but it's best part of a tonne and a half with the driver and fuel on board. And when you have a war with the concrete invariably wins that one.
Check this out.
Have a look and a listen. And it shifted that 2.5 tonne concrete block there. So that'll be a nasty one for James. Good news is he's out and okay.
That will have hurt him.
It will have hurt him for sure. We'll take a break while they clean this up. The order at the moment is Whincup from McLaughlin, then Michael Caruso in the sister Nissan to this car. We'll take a break.
There's oil on the circuit somewhere as well, so let's have a really good look around the circuit for any oil, all debris, all these sorts of things, mate. It looks pretty messy out there, so have a good look around, please. Copy. Fuel number, please, data. Fuel number minus 114. Copy that, mate. Have you caught the safety car?
Yeah, that's us done here, mate.
Caught the safety car, turn 12. Copy, mate. Have a good look around for debris all around there. Debris, oil, where that car was, please. Safety cars increasing its speed to 80. Make sure you stay within 5 car lengths of the safety car, brother. Mate, we believe we are all good on fuel now, mate. All good on fuel. Copy that.
It's the third safety car intervention of the day, and they're still under the control of the safety car at the moment. Normally they burn around about 2.6 to 2.7 litres of United E85 on a hot lap. They're only burning around about 1 litre a lap at the moment, so they're saving 1.6, and that's critical to the story. So while the safety car's out, we don't want to miss racing laps. We'll take another break. We'll come back again in just a moment. They're thinking about it at Red Bull because, remember, they sent out a fuel-save message earlier.
Yes, mate. What fuel you need for what size. All good. that. I'll stop giving you numbers, that's cool. Yes, mate, don't worry about that. We also believe it's going to be a short race. Copy. Lights out the safety car accelerating away from the field. You are to maintain your speed, no more accelerating and braking, no more weaving or warming of tyres. Hold 80.
We're back on the Gold Coast, and very shortly the Petters safety car is going to pull off once again, and we will go racing. They've got about half a lap to run before they get another green signal, and we've cleaned up the damaged car number 360 of James Moffat, the Nissan Altima. It's up at the northern end of the circuit at turn 11, and sadly James just clipped the inside wall there and it pitched him into the outside. So they've been saving fuel. I think this has now released the key runners from having to worry about that. They've saved at the rate of around about 1.5 to 1.6 litres per lap, which has given them back the flexibility they need. But the interesting questions for me, we've got Shane van Gisbergen in 12th position and Craig Lowndes in 16th position, and they're looking speedy. And we have to keep an eye on those fellas, Larko.
Yeah, and the great thing about this little consequence now, Neil, is without worrying about fuel, these guys will drive these cars as fast as they can to the end of the race, and you've got to love that.
Yeah, exactly right, Larko. So just a bit over 30 laps, and this will be a 30-lap sprint. Whincup, McLaughlin, Caruso, Slade, Reynolds. Now, they're the five at the front that look like they've got pace. Winterbottom's currently 7th. Rick Kelly and Russell Ingall done a great job. They're in 8th and 9th. They've got a 15, Ingall's up 15 spots. Rick Kelly up 11 spots. There's your restart.
It's Shane van Gisbergen there that we're focusing on. He's going up the inside of car number 34 at the moment. Greg Ritter's actually in that car. Co-driver's in the car. So the field condensed. So even though the numerics don't sound great for Van Gisbergen and Lowndes, the track position's not as bad as... Oh, you're kidding. Awkward move. Oh, Jack Perkins. Are they all going to get round? Yes, just. Jack Perkins' contact there on Greg Ritter.
He did a good job, Greg Ritter, then. He dipped the clutch, so when you're spinning like that, he dipped the clutch, kept the car alive, so the first opportunity that he could to get the car moved away, it was clear. You've got to look back for the flag marshal. So let's just take a look at this Gillette Max 3 replay from our chop up down the inside. So Perkins into the side. Hard to know, wasn't up quite far enough. Very difficult one, that one. Visibility very hard for Greg Ritter, and then he's dipped the clutch. And then you've got to look for the flag marshal as to when you can move, because everyone else did a really good job to avoid him. And then he turned the car around and off he went again. So although that was a spin, I thought there was going to be contact with another car.
And for Jack, he would have expected there for there to be just a little bit more room down there when he got down there. But of course, when you're in Greg's seat, I don't think there was a left-hand mirror on that car, my recollection of the replay there, so it's really hard to know where he is. It's just one of those awkward things, right? Hard to really adjudicate on something like that, but sadly for Ritter, he's been turned. So Whincup showing good restart pace at the moment. He's got a 0.8 margin. Whincup over McLaughlin, then Caruso P3. And there is the back of Russell Ingall's car from Rick Kelly's car. Both been making progress 8th and 9th.
Yeah, Neil, and it's a good pick up on the mirror because, as we know, the regulations require mirrors, but because of the walls here, they don't require a left-hand mirror. And in defence of Jack Perkins there, I tell you what, I reckon he was just about there, wasn't he?
He was close. It was virtually at the B pillar, but it's all going on for him again out there at the moment. And he's trying to make a move here. And turn 12 is just awkward if you're offline. He's trying to make a move on Jason Bright. I'll get it spat out eventually. And it's creating a bit of a queue. And whenever you see a train of cars like this, just makes you pause and think about it for a minute. So Bright just got a couple of extra car lengths. There's Dave Patterson, engineer for Jack Perkins, on the right-hand side of screen. not in what we describe as normal team uniform, but they've got support this weekend at Geraldwyn Racing from Surf Lifesaving Queensland.
And that pack is pretty angry because right behind Perkins, you could see Mostert and Lowndes. And Lowndes obviously trying to come forward, Rihanna.
Dean Fiore, but I'm going to call you Fonzie for the spirit of the weekend. Top 5 yesterday after some dramas, currently sitting in 3rd position. Caruso, he's got the eyes on and he's doing well.
Yeah, he is. He's doing a great job. You know, he has all weekend. And likewise with the other 2 events, we've just had a bit of bad luck. So he told me who he's racing against in the championship because it's actually quite a hot fight for the top 10 in the championship. So I tried my best to get past those people for him. So hopefully I get an invite back next year.
You seem more nervous than what you usually are.
I am. I'm so nervous for him, but I know he can do it. And long way to go yet. So we'll just see. I've got everything crossed.
Good luck, Fonz.
Thanks. Cheers.
It's a good performance from these guys, isn't it, when you see them trundling along as they are in this race. And remember that, and no further action is the confirmation there, pretty much like we thought. It was a really hard one to call. But when you look at their position 5 yesterday for car number 36 and currently in the 3rd position in this race, it's been a very profitable weekend for them. Something else I just want to flag here at the moment also, Mark, is that in the regulations, this event was scheduled to run 102 laps or 10 minutes past the hour local time. Because of the 3 safety car interventions, I reckon we'll hit the time certainty of that before we hit the laps by possibly a lap. We'll keep you informed on that one.
So Whincup with a 1.6 second lead over McLaughlin. Caruso roughly a second behind McLaughlin.
We're going to interrupt Scafie. Chaz Mostert just reported damaging a front tyre. He's in 13th at the moment.
So Mostert was right in that battle we saw before with Perkins and Lowndes, and they've both got by Perkins now, so Mostert is up in behind Perkins. So yes, we're hearing now with Adam DeBore and Chaz Mostert trying to make sure that they're going to get that car home, because Mostert is 5th in the championship, so points are critical. 3 guys all on equal points.
Yeah, which is going to favour Fabian Coulthard, who's 6th at the moment, because the other guy that was in that points tie for 5th at the moment is James Courtney, who's having a shocker.
Really keen to have a chat to Will Davison down here, mate. They're getting ready to get back in the car. They repaired it. Firstly, what's the drama? Because this has been a tough day for you. With after so much promise, I might say, P5.
Yeah, we're having a good day. Really strong qualifying. So it's I feel gutted for everyone at Erebus Team Repco. You know, they've had a challenging few weeks, and with Lee's car in the garage as well. Having a really good run then. It's like it's split a oil cooler or something like that, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but came into the pits no problem. As soon as I accelerated it away, it was pouring oil out. So no, just really gutted for the team because we were putting in a pretty good showing.
All right, mate, I'll let you get ready. I want to quickly grab a word with your brother, Alex Davison here. Alex, good first stint, mate, but you know as well as I do, this is a tough gig, this race, isn't it?
It's such a tough race, and it's this track's so hard on the cars, you know, with tyre bundles and curbs, and they're flying up on 2 wheels, and you need to build them strong. And today we just had a little mechanical drama which has just put us out, but we're hoping to salvage something after yesterday and come back fighting today. And we're on track for a good result. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be though.
All right, thanks, mate. Best luck next time.
Cheers.
It's unusual, isn't it, for 2 brothers to both have the same profession, in this case professional racing drivers. That's a pretty narrow field. And it's the first time in their careers they've driven together, Will and Alex Davison. Disappointment for them, considering they were in a nice position, as Mark Larkin was pointing out. We're monitoring Shane Van Gisbergen. He's flying at the moment, and that's an audacious move down the inside of car number 15, Rick Kelly, in the Jack Daniels Nissan, and he now positions the Holden up the inside for the run to the chicane. Russell Ingles, the car in the foreground. There he is, 23. So Gizzy now moves up a spot, and I don't think Rick had the temperament that he wanted to play on with that one. Incidentally, at the last stop, I heard the mask out of the Volvo team that when the fresh rears went on car number 33, they were asking whether or not Scotty McLaughlin wanted a rear ride height change, not roll center. That's from days gone by. So I didn't hear the answer, Scafie, but the reason I'm making the point is that just not every lap, but too many laps at the moment. He just doesn't seem to be able to quite match Jamie Whincup for pace. So I don't think that Scotty's quite got the car balance of Jamie at the moment, was where I was going with that, as we're watching Rick making a bit of oil pressure there with the heart rate up over 170 beats a minute. Caruso, meantime, has gone fastest of anybody in this race in Sector 2 in the sister Nissan to the car that we're riding with here at the moment. So he's a long way from out of this race at the moment, Michael Caruso. He's looking very, very strong. He's only a second behind Scotty McLaughlin as we work towards the conclusion of the Castrol Edge Gold Coast 600. Thanks for hanging in with us this afternoon, because this thing is really starting to bubble. We're focusing at the moment on a battle for position number 7. Mark Winterbottom just locked a brake a moment ago and no doubt is carrying some front tyre damage down in the turn 1 chicane. He almost went into the wall up at the top of the track as well at turn 12. How he got away with that one was an absolute miracle. Would have had a lot of debris on the tyres as well, which wouldn't have helped him when he got down to the fast braking area in the first and second chicane. Here it is. Gillette replay shows a big, big lock-up straight ahead. Van Gisbergen was applying very, very heavy pressure to the back of him, and he's been absolutely flying. He put a move on Russell Ingall a lap earlier while we're in the break, and fortunately Russell saw him coming and gave him a little bit of space, but it was incredibly intense. Meantime, Whincup is a machine. Look at those laps. Just keeps punching out the numbers at the moment. He's got it out to 2.6 seconds over Scotty McLaughlin, who's done a personal best first sector on this particular lap. But the real interest at the moment is what's going to happen in these minors, because Van Gisbergen is still charging. Lowndes is 13th, but looks like he's having trouble getting through the traffic at the moment. But Van Gisbergen pushing hard, and I'd be certain of the fact that Frosty's got a mark on that tyre.
Oh, for sure. That was a big lock-up, wasn't it? And you can see there with the entry speed that Van Gisbergen's got. And he's got real car pace at the moment. He's fastest lap of the race. There's a 12.46. He's got him. It's a reasonably easy move in the end. Russell Ingall will also get him, and they've just done a great job. Ingall and Rick Kelly. They've gained 15 positions, Russell Ingall, and 11 positions there. This is these amazing replays that we're showing you through the fast chicane. And it's a very complex little piece of road. You can see the deflection of the tyre on the loaded side. You've got to make the car change direction nicely, got to use the curb nicely, got to try to keep it off those tyre bundles. You see the correction there, do a little bit of opposite lock when that lands.
You can also see the pickup on the tyres If you look carefully on those super slow-mo replays as well, just the little bits of rubber debris that roll up like cigars and fly off to the edges of the road. We're riding here with Jamie Whincup. He's got 2.5 seconds over McLaughlin. McLaughlin is still sitting with 1.1 seconds as a margin over Michael Caruso. And the call from these guys earlier in this sequence was to fuel save. That's not an issue anymore as a result of that last safety car triggered by James Moffat up here in this portion of the racetrack.
And I was just about to say that Caruso, don't discount him because he's continuing to apply pressure. It was back to 0.8 of a second behind McLaughlin. So Whincup's just slightly forging ahead. McLaughlin can't do anything more. He did his fastest lap, as you said, on lap 80. So he's actually, in terms of pace, doing the very best he can do. But Caruso is gaining ground. He's actually slightly faster. He's done a 12.46 versus McLaughlin's 12.52.
Looking at David Reynolds on screen here at the moment, and the Bodlo car is 5th in the field. This is a battle for position between David and Fabian, 5th and 6th. It's been a bit of a quiet run in the recent past for Fabian, so these points are extremely valuable for him in the Lockwood entry. And we've detailed some of the difficulties for David Reynolds and his teammate Dean Canto in the recent past as well. So if they get some sugar out of today, then that'll be a nice bonus for them. Russell Ingall, notable performance inside the top 10 in car 23 as well. Lowndes is still in 13th, incidentally. So for championship at the moment, Whincup looking pretty good. That margin you spoke about, Scafie, from McLaughlin to Caruso is back down now to 0.7 of a second, so he's still pushing very hard, Michael Caruso.
And Slade again doing a really good job too. He drove so well yesterday, currently 4th. So Whincup, McLaughlin, Caruso, Slade, Reynolds and Coulthard battling, Van Gisbergen making ground, Winterbottom is in trouble, and Ingall and Kelly applying pressure now to Mark Winterbottom. And Winterbottom won't want to lose these couple of spots because remember, he's 315 points in arrears to Jamie Whincup, the man who's currently leading.
Keep in mind these fellas raced yesterday, raced for 2 hours and 13 minutes, and they qualified, and they did a shootout, and they do all of their other public relations and engineering pre and debriefs. We're approaching an hour and 52 minutes in this race, so I wanted to make a point about just the physicality of this. It's very, very tough out there at this hot stage of the afternoon, Rihanna.
Paul Dunbrell, currently Jamie has a 2.5 second lead above the field. How are we going with fuel?
Yeah, no, I think that last safety car really helped everyone who stopped, I think, with 42 to go. So, obviously, it's like Bathurst all over again. So, I think it's going to be okay. Obviously, with the pace and time certain race, it actually might be 1 or 2 laps short the race. So, that might help us as well. So, fingers crossed, we'll get on with it and hopefully we're somewhere near the front at the end.
At the end of this race, we will crown the Pertec Enduro Cup winners. Do you think that yourself and Jamie can take home that trophy?
I would love to. Obviously, a couple of our guys who we battled with in the championship obviously had a bad day, so it probably helps us a little bit. But hey, if we stay where we are, it takes care of itself. So we'll see what happens.
This is the conclusion of the Enduro Cup. We will see you at Sydney Olympic Park for the final round of the Dunlop Series, but will we see you next year at the Pertec Enduro Cup again?
You'll certainly see me at Homebush at the end of the year. Next year, who knows? So we'll, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll sit down with the team after this weekend and assess, how I went, obviously what the team needs, and whether or not we can do it all again.
My personal opinion, Paul, you've done a great job.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Paul Dunbrell, 32 years of age, twice a winner in the Dunlop Series, the backup series to the main game here, and of course he's a former Bathurst winner and he's done a very big job in aiding Jamie Whincup's recent success in the last several years where Jamie's delivered championships. But how about this for a battle at the moment? The battle between these guys, fantastic. This is 2nd and 3rd. Scott McLaughlin, Michael Caruso, Gary Rogers, the team owner, on the right of the car in the foreground, the blue car, the Volvo. Scotty just looks like he's drifting a little bit at the moment. Final corner. 3.3 seconds is the gap between Whincup and McLaughlin. We're just going to keep an eye on these guys for you very, very carefully. That's the right foot planted hard, 100% throttle for McLaughlin. 265 kilometres an hour, then huge brake pressure. It's the second toughest track on the tour for brake temps. Then a very delicate use of the throttle to apply the 600 plus horsepower on the short chute. Down to 60 kilometres an hour. They approached it at 160. Now building speed again. They get to 6th gear eventually, 200 145 kilometres an hour. But with ageing tyres, those numbers I'm quoting are on good tyres. The Shannon's telemetry won't quite show that. Through the chicane, big direction changes. The slowest speed in there is about 140 odd clicks. And then up into the shadows at this time of day. Just underneath 200 kilometres an hour at turn 11. This is where James Moffat came unstuck. Motor racing is as much a foot skill as it is a hand skill. Big brake pressure, flip of the throttle for the synchronised downshift. Second gear, brake, squirt of the throttle again. Picking the pace back up to 160 kilometres an hour before plummeting the speed back down to just over 60 kilometres an hour, or just under it in this case. Remember, the tyres have degraded at this point in the day, so they don't hit their peak numbers. They're doing as much as they can. They drive to the absolute grip limit of the car. That's still very, very quick down there. It's a great spot to watch them.
We talk all the time about the main straight. As you can see from that shot, it's got a big corner in it, and it's very intense. You get no opportunity for a break. Caruso's got good pace, Neil, hasn't he?
He has, but what is impressive there, Scafie, there's no throttle stitching, I call it. We're not seeing Scott McLaughlin stamp on the throttle, release it, stamp on it, and sort of have a couple of cracks at it. He progresses it from 0 smoothly through a range to 100%. And when they look at the throttle traces on the data, when they debrief, they look at that sort of stuff to interpret whether the car's doing what they want them to do, because they've been working very hard at the Volvo team to try and find consistency with their use of tyres over the duration of the race. We'll get our last break of the day done, and when we come back, we'll have a look at the conclusion of this big event on the Gold Coast.
To go, buddy. 14 to go. 4 seconds back to the lady, mate. Job, mate. Have a drink. Helmet fans on.
Quite a few big names down the order today, including Jason Bright, Team VOC, and Brad Jones, Holden Commodore. And you can see that the undertray on that car's parted company, or in the process of doing so. He'll have clattered the tyre bundle somewhere. So they've radioed him. You can hear it scuffing profusely in the background there. Meantime, this is a terrific battle between McLaughlin and Caruso. We're looking rearward from the rear deck of the Volvo there. And remember, there may be a little bit of sweet revenge in all this, because if you cast your mind back to Queensland Raceway earlier in the year, Scope, you remember the big battle that was going on between these guys? And a move for the lead at that stage by Michael Caruso resulted in a pit lane penalty. It was Saturday, race number 24. It's also the 100th V8 Supercar event for Michael Caruso this weekend, so a milestone event, and he's putting in a milestone performance as we go back in the order. Fabian Coulthard's been reporting some engine issues. He's just being assaulted round the outside by Van Gisbergen, and Shane Van Gisbergen's just grabbed a spot. That's now 6th. Consider he's had a pit lane drive-through penalty for being too eager on a restart. Gillette replay shows us the story down at turn 4. Look at these guys at it.
Good driving,
Fabian's been fighting really hard, and he's got some issues because I keep intercepting little bits of radio messages at the moment. He's fighting for some valuable points.
That was very skillful, both those guys on the exit of turn 4 there. They gave each other some racing room. There's very little margin for error at that spot. This place is so unforgiving.
Just want to remind everybody that this one will certainly run time certain as well. We're not going to make our 102nd lap. 10 past the hour locally is the time certain finish. And as Paul Dumbrell said before, that also helps with that fuel situation that some of them had early in the game, but that's not a factor any longer. Focus at the moment is second. Here they are, Scott McLaughlin, Michael Caruso. Richard Holway, engineer for the Volvo team. He's Scott McLaughlin's man.
And there's 2 spots on the way out of the fast chicane down to here into turn 11. Caruso's been strong. And then the other one is into turn 4. It's probably been the best passing spot we've seen over the weekend.
Technical director Craig Spencer from Nissan Motorsport. He works with Scotty Sinclair. Steve Toddkiller's engineer for Michael Caruso, and they were an item back at Gary Rogers Motorsport in the day, so they've stayed together, and it's a good combination that delivers. It's good to see Michael getting up into a podium earning position here at the moment, and further progress from yesterday's 5th placing as Bright continues to battle the failing front end of this car.
And we saw yesterday, Croppo, with Tim Slade, Tony D'Alberto got onto the podium for the first time in his career. But today, if they stay in the current positions in McLaughlin and Caruso's case, Dean Fiore and Alex Prammer will also have their first podium. So fantastic for the weekend to have, if they stay where they are, 3 of them that will have podium place getting for the first time. So Whincup with a 3.7 second lead over McLaughlin. He's battling with Caruso. He started the block a couple of laps ago, especially into turn 4. Slade still 4th, Reynolds 5th. Van Gisbergen continues to make ground. He's 0.7 of a second behind Dave Reynolds, trying to get into the top 5. On the previous lap, Scott McLaughlin's just done the fastest personal best time for the second sector, so you can tell that he's still absolutely sprinting, trying to hold Michael Caruso off. What a great story for 3 young guys to get their first podium over the weekend.
Always, and that's Andrew Edwards on the right-hand side of the screen there, and Chris Rissman on the left. I always like watching the seasoned guys. I mentioned this yesterday about Garth Panda. They're just gritty. You know, Jason Bright's got a car that'll be steering like a dog. It'll be understeering. The under-tray isn't working. But they just get into this laser beam focus when they get it right, because they've done it so many times before in their careers, and they're very hard to mow down. And that'll be an enormous frustration at the moment for those behind him, especially for David Wall. Larko?
Yeah, Neil, I was going to say the same thing, just looking at the vision. You can see how much road Bright is using. And the other danger is, I know you talk about a lot, if that under-tray comes off, it goes under the front wheels. It can spear you into the fence. You need that experience. Hey, and while I'm at it, a quick hello to Brett, because I know he's at home on the pit lane, on the pit lane couch at home. Tuned in, brother Barretts. We miss you down here on the pit lane, mate, because no one here to show me where the good fans are, where the good drinks machine are. But he's got a sore throat. He goes down easily. But rest assured, he will have a contra deal with the local chemist. He will not be paying for throat lozenges.
Yeah, Barretts, get well soon. He's doing his best Marcel Marceau this weekend. And we'll have him back at Phillip Island, no doubt. 476 V8 supercar race for Jason Bright. Okay, David Reynolds is giving us a ride on his rear bumper.
Focus on your exit, be quick to the chicane. Here we roll.
Shane Van Gisbergen is behind him. Oh, Bright has gone off finally. In fact, it's worse at the front. It's more, yeah, it's gone under the front tyres, so it's shot. But he's lucky that he didn't end up in the wall, which is what Mark Larkin was talking about. And there's no stopping Shane Van Gisbergen, who puts another move on now. This is for position number 5. This is an amazing comeback from Van Gisbergen. If we happen to get a safety car, this guy will be back in the game. Oh, there was a bit of debris just flicked up there. In fact, I think something may have broken on Shane's car. Did he end up with a little bit of the front under tray broken out of that car? He has. He has. There was something rubbing, I'm sure it was. That was debris. We actually saw it in the onboard shot. So the bottom of the under tray has parted company with Shane's car. He's clobbered the tyres at some stage. A little section of wing has been damaged. It's already been, you can actually see on the slow-mo replay, there's some whole under tray has come out. That was Bridie's, but have a look at this. Staring at the front of that car, it's actually fractured. So a little piece of that has come out as well. So the bit that I saw was Bridie's under tray. Oh, wow, that was huge. But I didn't realise that Van Gisbergen's car was damaged to that extent as well.
And that may have explained, because we thought he was catching Dave Reynolds and Fabian Coulthard very fast prior to that. But his pace has dropped off a little bit. This was this move. He got down the inside. Dave gave him room. That was no problem there. And it was at the next section where you picked up on the debris coming out from under the front of Van Gisbergen's Commodore. That move has actually put him into 3rd position in the championship in front of Craig Lowndes. And 3rd in the Enduro Cup. So, Lucko?
Yeah, just as Bridie, you can see Bridie coming down the pit lane. Here's an under tray that we just saw it come apart. So this is the piece that Neil was just showing you flew in the air. And as you can see how that slopes upwards? So the air expands under there as it goes this way. And as air expands, it creates a low pressure system which pulls the front of the car down. If you have low pressure under there, you're fine. If you feed air in under there, you're not fine. And this front of the car, look at this, that's an absolute mess. And the hard thing here will not just be replacing it. Generally, when the mounts move around, it's very hard to get it back on there. This is a battle.
Yeah, thanks, Lucko. That air dam, the front under tray, the piece that you just made reference to, roughly at 200 kilometres an hour, has about 140 kilos of downforce. So they're very efficient. A lot of grip comes from that part of the car, and when they're broken, it makes a huge difference to the balance of the car. Much more understeer.
Bad sportsmanship flag will be displayed to Tim Slade, car number 47 in 4th position. 2nd day in a row, strong performance for him. There's the graphic confirming the message from race control. So he's got no more lives left. If he does it again, he'll end up having a tour down pit lane. Tim Slade, car 47 for Super Cheap. So 3rd yesterday, he had that vigorous battle with Mark Winterbottom where he was passed at the last corner right here on the exit of it. It was deemed to be a bump and run by Mark Winterbottom, so they reversed the positions and he got on the podium, Tim Slade. He was absolutely physically distraught yesterday at the conclusion of it because the cool suit and the helmet fan had failed. He's 4th out there at the moment, and he's hoping he's in better condition. Whincup, McLaughlin, Caruso, Slade, Van Gisbergen, Reynolds, then Coulthard, Winterbottom in 8th, then Ingle has done a ripping job in a borrowed car, and then Rick Kelly in the Jack Daniels Nissan is in 10th position. Here we are, Van Gisbergen 5th. It's a question of the walking wounded now. A lot of them have got wing damage. A lot of them have got steering damage. The tyres have seen their best. The drivers have seen their best. We're approaching 2.5 minutes to the time certain conclusion plus 1 lap. So at 10 minutes past the hour here locally, plus 1 lap is when the race will conclude. At the moment, it's 3.7 seconds for Whincup. He's starting to get a grip on this year's championship. With races to come at Phillip Island and then at Sydney Olympic Park. Whatever was going on with the engine with Coulthard, it doesn't appear to be giving him any overt grief.
I think what Caruso did too, Neil, is he moved back off him a little bit because the heat soak here is really bad. You made the point earlier today that it's the second highest in terms of how hard it is on the braking demand. It's the second highest of the complete tour that we go to, and the hardest in terms of the bumps. We've seen the curbs and all the things, the different track surfaces. But what he did is he snuck back, he's had a little rest, just make sure that it's in good order to come back at him again, because he was roughly a second behind. Now he's back to 0.4 again. So he just needs to, if you get in the hot air and it starts to hurt the brake pedal quality, then you just can't make a move.
Michael was super close to wiping that Nissan on the wall at turn 3 there before. I fair bit of air processed through my air filter then. I was, whoa. So last podium for Caruso was at Winton last year. He was second in race 25. Remember, his teammate did pretty well there. You pointed out before for Dean Fiore, his co-driver this weekend for Michael Caruso. This could potentially be a big moment in his career.
I mean, we come into today with 5 manufacturers in the top 7, and we're going to come out of today the way this is shaping up with 3 manufacturers on the podium today. So great effort from the new manufacturers, Volvo and Nissan Motor Company. Some drama for the Davison brothers because they were very strong, qualified very well today, and currently down in 21st. But they were shaping up like this was going to be a very good result. That's the car that I just made reference of, and there's the battle for second position. Richard Holway still talking to Scott McLaughlin, just trying to coax him home. These relationships between engineer and driver, very powerful in terms of being able to get the best from the driver and make sure they use every ounce of car performance without making a mistake around here. It's very difficult. There's hardly a car in the field that hasn't got some damage on the front of it or some steering damage. As Neil said a second ago, the tyres have certainly seen their best. This is physically one of the most demanding racetracks on our tour, and it's because you just don't get a rest. You never stop working the steering wheel at this place. If you make a little mistake, you find the fence, and this man is the benchmark in our category at the moment. 5-time champion.
Leader has commenced the last lap. Car 1 leader has commenced the
last lap now, so we've been notified now, based on the time certainty, that Jamie Whincup has just commenced the final lap. And these, always, when you're in the driver's seat, keep your head down. Do not make a last-minute mistake.
He's in good shape, isn't he? There's just no denying the fact that the guy's very consistent, very controlled. He's going to wrap up the Pertec Enduro Cup here by a very large margin because his nearest competitor today, Chaz Mostert, is down in 18th. And a little bit of Shane Van Gisbergen and flamboyance here for Jamie Whincup to conclude this one. It's another impressive performance by Whincup. He extends his points lead. He is the reigning champion. He's won here previously. It's an impressive performance for him, his team, his co-driver Paul Dumbrell. And once again, it's Jamie Whincup and Red Bull Racing Australia that get the job done on the Gold Coast. Congratulations to all the boys up on the wall there. It's a mighty performance. And second placing and a big run for Scotty McLaughlin. Great performance for he and Alex Premer, his teammate. Michael Caruso for Nissan is in third. Dean Fiore shared the car with him to a podium result. Tim Slade, he's done the job with Tony D'Alberto, and Shane Van Gisbergen, after a drive-through penalty, has finished in 5th placing.
A little bit of circle work down there at the Gold Coast side for Jamie Whincup. And what a remarkable drive. It's compelling when you watch him at his best, because we're witnessing Couchy's just giving a bit of guidance on where he's allowed to do the burnouts.
I think it's too late.
I think it's over and out. But we are witnessing one of the all-time greats. 5-time champion. That's his 11th win of the year. He's had 8 pole positions. He is driving at his very best. He's at the top of his game.
And he's smouldering the place at the moment. He's lighting up the rears, and while he's doing all that, he's just plucking down the window net and waving to the crowd.
We talk about it all the time, Neil. When he is driving well, he's got that really composed, beautiful technique. We're on board a lot of the day with him. In fact, in some places here at the fast chicane, he was using a gear up from qualifying. So instead of being in 30, he was in 4th. He ran it through there and kept it going. There's a bit of drama here with the 2 FPR cars. One of them may have run out of fuel or something because it stopped.
Chaz will push you back. Yeah, push you back.
Yeah, so Chaz is going to have to do a little bit of push and shove to get him home.
Drama here also for car 9. Remember, they were in the wars as well, so the front bumper on car number 5 doesn't look too good. It's not going to look too good on car 6 after this, or the rear bumper for that. May as well finish them all off.
Well, look at it, it's not too flash anyway.
That's right. Hardly concourse presentation of those cars at the moment.
I'm going real slow. I'll push it back.
We need the air going through the engine, mate. We need the air going through the engine.
Yeah, because he sat there with it idling after being at race pace. It's made huge water temperature, no doubt, and that's the reason why that message came through.
But something late happened to Winterbottom because he dropped right down now. He's back in 14th. So he was right in behind. In fact, he was in front of Ingall. He was 8th. So he's come back to 14th. As you see, Scotty McLaughlin get out, walks up to Richard Holway. There's Ian Morellen there from Nissan Motor Company, who's also walking up to congratulate Michael Caruso and Dean Fiore. As we said, Prema and Fiore, their first podium positions in their career. And this man, another win for Jamie Whincup and Paul Dumbrell. And I can't emphasise enough what a great job Paul Dumbrell has done all weekend again. You see there, Dean Fiore with Michael Caruso, nicknamed this weekend Fonzie.
Yeah, that's a great performance for those fellas. They've earned that. It's been hard yards. And you make a point about Paul Dumbrell. He's a young executive. He's the chief executive of a company called Automotive Brands, Auto Pro and Auto Barn. He runs it. And this is more than a hobby, but it wouldn't be an easy thing to combine the roles, and he should be very proud of that drive. And so should Jamie Whincup be. That's a brilliant performance today, and the two of them have absolutely crushed the opposition. Well done.
I don't think the roof of car 1's that flash after that.
I was about to say, it's front bumpers, rear bumpers, and now roofs on these cars as well, but I don't think anybody cares right now. So there you go. Jamie Whincup and his teammate Paul Dumbrell got home by 2.8 seconds in the end, and along the way, Whincup achieved the fastest lap of the race. Parked it off in the traffic island down there and lit it up for the crowd just to enjoy the moment. Here's Rihanna.
Congratulations, Jamie Whincup and Paul Dumbrell. 7 wins at this racetrack, 11 wins for the season. Jamie, sensational drive.
Yeah, always extra special to do it at home. This is it's one of the highlights of my year, the Gold Coast event. Car was fantastic. Obviously, big thanks to all our corporate partners and, of course, the Queensland government. It was an unbelievable event. Nothing better than taking home that #1 surfboard. And how good was this bloke? Absolutely flawless performance for the last 3 rounds. Unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. Congratulations, PD.
Yeah, no, it's so much fun, obviously, to pair up with J-Dub and the whole Red Bull Racing Australia team. So, obviously, you know, we always have this car pretty quick. Obviously, a bit of a disappointing one at Bathurst, but, you know, we bounced back and we got the chocolate. So, just a big call out to Dr. Carl as well. Thanks for looking after me this weekend.
And you boys, you take home the Pertec Enduro Cup, so congratulations over the course of the Enduro Cup.
Yeah, we let that slip. We let that slip last year, so we made amends. It's awesome.
And nice circle work on the track as well, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you. Not much tyre left, but we didn't need them anyway.
Well done, boys. Get up there on the podium and spray some champagne. Congratulations once again. And we will move over to these boys here. Second place on the podium, Scott McLaughlin, sensational drive. Michael Caruso, your buddy, he was hunting you down there, but you were able to hold him on.
Yeah, Caruso was hunting me down there, but I don't know. I was a bit dazed at the moment. My cool suit failed and all that sort of stuff. So Caruso did a fantastic job. I just tried to do my best in front of him, and I got in front of him, and we're second. So we're surfboard. I'm going surfing.
Alex Bremer, I'm sure you haven't done much surfing in your time over there in France, but your first V8 Supercar podium.
Oh, I'm feeling very released about my first podium in V8 Supercar. It's pretty awesome, and yeah, he did a fantastic job. And I would try to do a bit of surfboard, but I don't think so. Yeah, I will stand on the board, yeah, because it's too easy for him.
Maybe Scotty can show you a thing or two.
He can learn me, definitely.
I've got absolutely no idea how to do it, so we'll see how we go.
A Kiwi and a Frenchman learning how to surf on the Gold Coast. I like to see that.
Thanks.
Well done, boys. And we head over here. Michael Caruso, he's named Caruso this weekend, and Dean Fiore, the Fonzie. Congratulations, boy, P3.
Thank you. Yeah, look, it's a fantastic weekend for us, and a fantastic way to finish off with Dino. He's done a really good job, and for everybody at Norton and Nissan Motorsport, thank you very much, because it's lovely to drive around in a car that's really fast.
Fonzie, again, the third guy this weekend, your first V8 Supercar podium.
Yeah, no, I'm wrapped. I'm absolutely stoked. I mean, these guys work their bum off, everybody at Norton, especially this guy gets in at the end and just does the job, and I'm really, really happy. Yeah, I've got to say hi to my sick wife, Kelly. She's on the couch, not that well. Hello. And George.
Well done, boys. Get up there, spray some champagne. Caruso and Fonzie on the podium this weekend.
Hey, Russell Ingall, mate, we did the lie detector recently, right, pal? There's been a lot of chat about that. We didn't manage to bleed your age out of you. Clearly you're 85, mate, looking at you now, because that was a tough race. 2 top 10 finishes, mate, in 8th then. Seriously, mate, well done, because that is tough out there, I know it. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Larko. Geez, I'll tell you what, you're not far wrong. I think I feel my true age, 75 at the moment. Man, that is a tough gig. You know, all credit to any driver out there that finished this race. Like, that is damn hard work, mate. So she's a long slog, but considering we're in a loaner here, we're in a rent-a-car, and we rolled out here and she didn't fire a shot till Friday, and we come out here, like you said, with a couple of top 10s. Can't be that bad, can it?
Good on you, champ.
All right, let's have a look at the results here, and an unbelievable performance by Jamie Whincup. 2.8 seconds in the end, Whincup to McLaughlin. Fantastic. And a couple of other notables in there as well, Scafe. I thought for Van Gisbergen to get to 5th, that was very impressive. And Russell Ingall, as you just heard from him, outside the top 10. Didn't have the firepower in the end. Craig Lowndes finishing up there in 11th position. We've got a question mark over what happened there with Mark Winterbottom in the final analysis. We'll try and sort that out. And a couple of big names down the order, especially for James Courtney and for Greg Murphy. Very disappointing for them, who have a bad run here on the Gold Coast and end their Pertec Enduro Cup in the way that they didn't want. The podium is now set. Here's Aaron Noonan.
Time for the podium for race 32 here on the Gold Coast. The winners today for Red Bull Racing Australia, Jamie Whincup and Paul Dumbrell. In second place for Volvo, Valvoline Racing GRM, Scott McLaughlin, and his first podium, Alex Bremer. In third for the Norton Hornets and Nissan Motorsport, Michael Caruso, and another first-time podium finisher, Dean Fiore. And representing the winning team, Red Bull Racing Australia, John McGregor. To present the third place trophy, Acting Mayor Donna Gates, City of Gold Coast. To present the second place trophy, Sean Rahali, Managing Director of our naming rights sponsor, Castrol Lubricants. To present the winning team award, Sue Dilgent, Sponsorship Manager of Castrol Lubricants. And to present the first place trophy, the Honourable Jan Stuckey MP, Minister for Tourism, Major Events, Small Business and Commonwealth Games. And of course the Gold Coast is the end of the 2014 Pertec Enduro Cup. To present the Pertec Enduro Cup, Paul Dutton from Queensland State Management of Pertec. To the winners for 2014 for Red Bull Racing Australia, Jamie Whincup and Paul Dumbrell. And ladies and gentlemen, that's your podium for race 32 of the championship at the Castrol Edge Gold Coast 600.
Very impressive.
So winners of the Pertec Enduro Cup for 2014, Paul Dumbrell and Jamie Whincup. They won at Sandown, they won here. Here's the championship situation, and Jamie has opened up that margin significantly now, 402 points. Incredible performance.